Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. When I was editing this one together, I realized that I left a lot of the violence in the YouTube video. So if you don't want to see that, then just know that that's what's in here is in this one. A scientist named Dr. Crawford Tillinghast works alone on an enormous machine in his cavernous laboratory, meticulously flicking switches, pressing buttons. When he flips the master switch, an eerie pink light floods the room, and a floating creature appears in the air. Excitedly, the scientist runs to tell his partner, Dr. Edward Pretorius, about the discovery. Their experiment succeeded. Barely able to contain their excitement, both men return to the lab and turn on the machine once more. But something goes wrong. The machine seems to have a life of its own. Tillinghast demands that Pretorius shut it off, but he won't. Something is calling to him, something words cannot describe. And behind closed doors, Tillinghast attacks something with an axe, and then flees in terror from what he has seen. Pretorius' headless body lies on the ground. Hello, Scaredy Cats, it's me, Scaredy Matt. That's the opening of 1986's From Beyond, an adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's short story of the same name, directed by Stuart Gordon, who you might remember as the director of Reanimator, another H.P. Lovecraft adaptation starring Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton, both of whom are in this one. If you're familiar with Gordon's work, you know he's got a certain vibe. His movies are always completely po-faced despite their silly subject matter, with tons of over-the-top gore and creature effects, and From Beyond probably represents the zenith of this particular tone, with tons of fantastical creatures designed by the legendary John Carl Buechler, the man who created the fucking Ghoulies. Let me just whet your appetite a little so you can kind of understand the type of movie we're talking about.
Touch me, if it pleases you. It's just the body.
Well, how about the hard-on I got? Is there a statistical correlation for that too?
Edward, my God, what have you become? Myself. You are evolving into a being that has never existed before.
Crawford, please don't eat those.
Now here's the basics of the story, and I swear to God, I'm not making any of this up. All of this happens in the movie From Beyond. Tillinghast, played by Combs, and Pretorius, played by Ted Sorrell, have invented a machine called the Resonator, which allows them to see into a parallel dimension inhabited by otherworldly beings. This dimension overlaps our own, and these creatures are all around us all the time, though normally they're invisible and intangible. The effect goes both ways though, and when the machine is turned on, the creatures can see us too. The Resonator works by stimulating the pineal gland, granting a sixth sense to everyone within its area of effect, with the added side effect of making them incredibly horny and super into BDSM. Still with me? Okay, so Pretorius is sucked into the worm dimension, where he gains the ability to control his body on a cellular level, and he uses this power to become made of goo, rip his face off, and eventually turn into a giant penis monster. This is to him the ultimate sensual pleasure. To be a penis monster and read people's minds. That's his thing. Crawford is arrested for Pretorius' murder and presumed to be a paranoid schizophrenic based on the events he described. And this movie has like a 19th century view of mental illness. It's super fucked up. Luckily for Crawford, he's released into the custody of Dr. Catherine McMichaels, who believes his ridiculous story because after giving him a CAT scan, it turns out his pineal gland is all sorts of fucked up. But here's what's weird about Dr. McMichaels is she's a pretty lady, but she's wearing glasses. Huh, that's unusual. So she brings him back to the mansion where the Resonator is, along with a cop sent to keep an eye on things named Bubba, played by Ken Foree from Dawn of the Dead. Dr. McMichaels gets addicted to the Resonator's whole vibe, and everyone else is like, yo hey, keeps letting monsters out, so how about we don't fuck with the Resonator anymore? But she's like, nah, it feels super good. This lets loose a giant monster that chomps up Tillinghast's head. Catherine does what anyone would do in that situation, and puts a bunch of fetish gear on and tries to seduce Bubba, who is not having it. But first, she takes her glasses off. So now, you know that she's good looking, because she took off her glasses. Because before, when she had her glasses on, you wouldn't be able to tell that Barbara Crampton is good looking. Anyway, the machine turns itself back on and releases a swarm of flies which kill Bubba. Catherine and Crawford barely escape with their lives, and also, repeated resonator exposure turns Crawford into a monster man whose pineal gland is now a prehensile penis coming out of his forehead, which he uses to sense the presence of human brains, because now he's got to eat human brains for some reason. How's it going? You following the story? Following the story okay? Okay, we're almost done. So then, Dr. Block, a stern and by-the-book medical doctor whose whole thing is that she doesn't approve of Catherine's medical ethics, forces Catherine into unnecessary electroshock therapy for vengeance. Meanwhile, Crawford is running loose and eating a bunch of brains he found in the hospital's pathology lab. Because right next to, I guess, the surgery area where they were trying to pull his pineal gland worm out of his forehead, that's where they keep the infected brains or whatever. So what he does then is he grabs Dr. Block's brain through her eye socket and gobbles that up. Dr. Block, by the way, was played by Stuart Gordon's wife, Carolyn Purdy Gordon. Hey honey, I got a great role for you this time. You're a Nurse Ratched type and you get your eyeball bitten off by the guy who played Wei-Yun on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Catherine and Crawford both independently escape from the hospital and go back to the mansion. And Catherine wants to destroy the resonator now. She's not addicted to it anymore because she saw that it turned Crawford into a monster man. But Crawford is... his motivation in this part of the movie, he's in love with Catherine, so what he does is, I think he's gonna eat her brain, because he's in love with her. Anyway, in a climactic final battle with Pretorius, Crawford is fangoriously devoured. But in the world of From Beyond, if you're vored by a monster, that allows you to become one with that monster. So now, Pretorius and Tillinghast are having a gloopy puppet skeleton fight. Catherine blows up the resonator and leaves, but the whole thing has driven her mad. The end. There is a lot not to like about From Beyond. There's a lot of unnecessary sexual violence, and to be clear, literally any amount would have been unnecessary in the penis forehead movie. Its treatment of mental illness, schizophrenia in particular, is deeply disrespectful and mean-spirited, though when I'm looking for sensitivity, I don't go to the director of Castle Freak. The characters are a little thin and their motivations are a little underdeveloped, but you know, all the main actors are horror icons for a reason. You're not gonna get a bad performance from Jeffrey Combs. It is literally impossible. No one could do that. Barbara Crampton is also really good, which is great because she has to wear a lot of hats in this movie. She's authoritative and abrasive as a psychiatric expert with unusual methods, vulnerable when she's under attack from monsters. I do not wish to discuss the scenes where she becomes a horn dog, or how they make me feel, and she's genuinely frightening, acting as someone driven mad by trauma. But overall, if you know anything about me, you know that this is the type of movie I like to watch. The gonzo plot, the charmingly dated special effects, the incredible creature design and puppetry, it's comfort food. It's the type of movie I could watch all day. I can hear you in the comments, Matt, shut up, no one cares about any of this. How wet are the puppets? Tell us, how wet are these puppets, folks? This one's one for the Wet Puppet Hall of Fame, let me tell you. The sheer variety, quality, and wetness of the puppets is only matched by Brian Yuzna's criminally underappreciated Society. Yuzna, by the way, was a longtime collaborator of Stuart Gordon's and produced From Beyond. The joy of science fiction cinema is seeing new ideas you'd never before considered represented on the big screen. And From Beyond is the only movie where you're likely to see Barbara Crampton, who once posed for a Playboy centerfold with a bunch of Ghoulies puppets because she is literally the coolest human being to ever live, bite off the prehensile penis growing out of the reanimator's forehead. Early in the movie, Dr. Pretorius, who I think is named after the character in Bride of Frankenstein, but I couldn't find any confirmation of that, but just know, if you're watching this Stuart Gordon, rest in peace, I did pick up on it. I noticed that. I know stuff about movies. Anyway, Dr. Pretorius claims that he wants to see more than any man has ever seen before. And folks, the biting of the forehead penis, that's something nobody's seen before, right? That's something. If you're looking for an uncomfortably horny psychedelic puppet nightmare, you're me. you are me. I'm the only one looking for that. But if you think it sounds interesting anyway, check out From Beyond. Next week, I'll be discussing the film's newly released sequel, or re-adaptation, or maybe just another film entirely called The Resonator, Miskatonic You, which might just be a softcore porn? I'm hoping it isn't, but hoo boy, just look at this production value. Why, you ask? I don't know. I don't know. I genuinely don't know why I watch the movies that I do. Thinking maybe it's a cry for help. If you can help, please comment below.